but yeah, all those little stories in there, they're all real stories. Like Benny Parsons, I believe, called to his pit crew and they couldn't pit the car because they were eating ice cream. Like that's a real story. They're based on real stories. It's I'm always partial to that one of all of them.
Nope. I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
All right, I'm gonna give you three movies that are, NASCAR movies. The first one is the original Days of Thunder. Now, I've seen it 100 times. I love this movie. I have no clue if this is realistic
Oh, you
at
want me to
all.
tell you all of it? It's all based on real stories. Like every single story that's in that story is based on real stories. Like there actually was a rental car like demolition derby race to go have a meeting with Bill France. It was Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt did that. That's a real story. Cole Trickle is based on Tim Richmond very loosely. Harry Hogg is based on Harry Hyde. So you have this story of this Tim Richmond, who's this metropolitan guy from the north, good looking, well dressed, didn't know a damn thing about the nuts and bolts of a race car. Couldn't tell you how to put one together. Could put a tire on a car, but the most God given, just raw talent. You put him behind the wheel, and he doesn't need to know anything about the car. He could just go, and that was Tim Richmond. And then you pair him with Harry Hyde, this very old school, winning races back in the I had to look back at his career, but like all the way back into the way back wins, you know, Southern good old boy crew chief that knew everything he didn't know. And you put these two together and they make this team and they're out there winning. They're beating Dale Earnhardt. And that's the story that inspires the Cole Trickle, the Harry Hogg, and it's it's Hollywood. It's going to be Hollywood, but it tells a lot of stories in a Hollywood way that I think resonate a lot with racers, and that to me is the coolest one to watch. There's some Hollywood to it for sure, um, but yeah, all those little stories in there, they're all real stories. Like Benny Parsons, I believe, called to his pit crew and they couldn't pit the car because they were eating ice cream. Like that's a real story. They're based on real stories. I'm always partial to that one of all of them. That it's a little cheesy at times, but um, I don't know, man. Just they did a good job with that movie. Just that opening scene. Every time I walk in Daytona in the morning, it's golden hour. It just
Yeah.
it's like heaven. I don't know how else to describe it. There's nothing cooler, and it stuck right in the middle of that perfect time in racing where they're kind of, it's the 80s into the 90s and, Jeff Gordon's coming, but Dale Earnhardt's the man. And, yeah, it becomes sort of nowadays when you look back on it, it is, yeah, I'm going to use the word time capsule again, but it's this moment in time where you didn't know how good you had it. And then you watch this movie and, those are the days.
Well, and as soon as Maverick came out, Top Gun Maverick, the talk online was, okay, well, we did another Top Gun. We need
They're supposedly doing it. I think they announced that like yesterday.
I think NASCAR should do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that I don't trust anything anymore with all this AI like shit that's going on, but we just established that we're gonna swear on the racing class podcast.
I don't
but
think we have a choice.
yeah, no, it's fine. I was watching ESPN today, the Pat McAfee show. I couldn't believe the stuff they're saying on there nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, my God. Like I'm usually working during the day. I just happen to flip it on today. Like he was like, I'm just like all
the
right,
rules do not apply anymore to Pat.
Yeah, no, I made the decision. We made the decision. We're gonna have fun with it. But so I got a little sidetracked. I don't remember where I was going with that. But yeah.
Talladega Nights. Is it just a fun film to poke fun at all the fun things in NASCAR that everyone else? I'll
it's
say that
definitely
NASCAR had a good sense of humor, it feels, about like, they knew the funny things about the sport, and they were willing to let them kinda.
yeah, it plays on the stereotypes of, all the things that you think about with NASCAR and the fans and, the southern nature of it for sure. But um I don't know. I love it. You can't take it too seriously. I think Days of Thunder's, you know, it's a Hollywood version of kind of how we all think and feel about racing. And I think Talladega Nights is more just kind of a I won't call it a full parody because there's a story and you follow it, and he's trying to get back out there. And there's racing aspect to it, but it's definitely a pure comedy too. Um well, you think about some of the stuff like I sticker bomb the car. That's what we call it, right? Like if I can sell a spot, I sell the spot, and we always get to a point where like I sold a spot that didn't even exist for Daytona. Like yeah, I felt that SunTrek new renewable energies. I felt terrible because we covered them with Bear Bond after the third lap, but they were on the back. Like I sold, it was called the rain gutter. I mean the spoiler. So we always make that joke. I'll sell the windshield if we can sell the windshield, and I think NASCAR drivers would. When Ricky Bobby's doing all the commercials and say whatever they tell him to say. Like, are we not doing that? I mean, how far is it from the truth? So it's fun to. They're exaggerating they're exaggerating things that probably aren't untrue in some ways, so it's a lot of fun. I always enjoy that movie. I like catching like hidden fun stuff like the bar. If you catch real close, like you watch, like they only flash over it once, but the bar they're always drinking is called the unfriendly possum. Just little shit that you catch if you really pay attention. So that's always one way I can watch a movie like that and make myself feel smarter. Like, haha, I got that. I got you. So, no, I've always enjoyed the movie. I don't know that, like I can watch Days of Thunder and, I'm ready. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go win the race. I'll go run through a brick wall after I watch that. I'm not sure, you know, Talladega Nights inspires some of those emotions, but no, it's definitely fun and I've always enjoyed it.
So, the last one, kids watch it, it's fantastic, but what I love about it is, as an adult, there's a lot of things you miss until you're an adult, and
I didn't
that's
miss them.
and that's Cars.
Yeah, I
Like,
love cars. I love cars. I love cars when I was younger. Um, just Oh, yeah, so, I mean, I went to the movie theater with my stepdaughter, Lexi, and we went and watched the 3rd one when she was younger, and I'm watching this movie, and, like, it's been a while since I seen it, but they brought in some OGs, but they had, like I think they had, like, a Smokey Yunick character, they had a Wendell Scott character, and they're talking about, like, this defunct racetrack, and it was a combination of, like, the old, like, can't remember the name of it. It was over in Orange County over there, kind of by Durham. It's like, oh, it's a long it's Okachi or something, like, it's O's and CH's, I'll never remember the name of it, but it was called the Taylorsville Speedway, which is, like, where Harry Gant's from, and, it's kinda up over that way, so you watch those movies and even, like, the original one with the story of, like, Route 66 and, how the towns all went to the wayside over there and, um, then they go back to the track and he's racing against Richard Petty. There's so much respect given to, the history of NASCAR and certainly just automobiles and American history and their place that cars have in the story of America, with the Route 66 stuff and then all the NASCAR stuff. And um I think it's beautiful. I really do. I don't think that those movies get enough credit for all the careful time and attention and that they give to those stories and bringing those stories that, probably, certainly a lot of like Wendell Scott's families, Wendell's long past and, um, all those guys that have family members that are part of history that don't get the recognition that they
yep.
probably deserve, but they do have this special place in history. So, um, I love it, even like Doc Hudson, telling the story of the Hudson Hornet, I mean, a car doesn't, have feelings, but like, it's just such important part of the story of NASCAR when you look back on it, and they're telling these stories about racing the dirt tracks and how, the Hudson Hornet had to race on the dirt tracks and you had to turn right to turn left. And, you know, it's a kids movie, but they pay a lot of respect to the history, and I've always appreciated that because they don't have to, right? They could have went out there and made a movie. Kids would have loved it either
Yeah, it
way.
would kids
But
wouldn't have cared.
yeah,
But
no, it's cool. I mean, somebody cared. Somebody cared a lot about the history, and I love it.
yeah, the in the first one, the fact that when they start the race that you get to hear beebity 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 let's go racing, it just kind of makes
Mhm.
you smile. You go, you didn't have to do that. You could have just gotten somebody to,
Well, and
but you
then
went out and you got it, and because you knew that there were going to be adults in the theater that were going to go, hey, wait a second, is that Tara
s-
Walter? It's like, yeah,
so
that's
I
Walter.
I was on Sunday mornings. I go to work, and at 10 o'clock every Sunday morning, they had the car guys with Click and Clack on NPR radio. And it was these two guys, and they're just really goofy, and they take calls and they try to help you fix your car, but they weren't that good at it. And they are on the radio for like 100 years. And my uncle used to listen to them. So I got to know them just because my uncle and me built my first street stock, and we'd always listen to Click and Clack the car guys. And they invited those two guys because they were long retired, but they invited those two guys to be the voices of the Rusty's representatives, like his first sponsor. And, those two guys that are, say, come on, come on, come on. We got this thing over here. We got, that's Click and Clack, the car guys. And like, I caught that right away. And I'm just like, it's so cool that they like, yeah, we're making a Cars movie. Let's get these two aging dinosaurs that no 5-year-old in the world, not one 5-year-old in the world knows about car talk with Click and Clack, the car guys. Like, it's it's so cool that, they're like, yeah, you matter. You are an important part of history. We're telling a story about cars. You're part of that story, and you get that respect, and they don't say it. They don't like be like, oh yeah, no, we're the, they don't go out of the way to take credit for it. Like, look at, pounding their chest, like, oh yeah, no, we got these guys out there. They just let them be part of the movie. And how much that probably mattered to them, right?
Yeah.
To be part of this Disney movie, and to be recognized, like, yeah, we know you, we were thinking about you. Um, somebody, like I say, there's not a lot of examples of that, in today's society.
No,
There just
somebody at
isn't.
Disney has got somebody had to have said at the beginning, "Listen, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this the right way. We're not just gonna make a movie."
Right. And even, Doc Hudson being voiced by Paul Newman, that wasn't a mistake.
No,
With his history in racing, that wasn't a mistake. There's so many little things that were thought of to include people that were passionate about cars in one way or another, whether it be automobiles or race cars or and it's this mix of all these little things that are in there, and it's beautiful, it's just respect, because they didn't do it to make you know they probably didn't make any more money off of having these guys in there, but it's giving them the respect that they deserve, and it's a lost thing, it really is. You don't see stuff like that anymore, and it's cool.
and
So I always appreciated that.
I don't remember. I read a story somewhere. There was a dad talking about the day he got to show his son that there was actually a the king. Like, got to like pull it up on YouTube, and he said, he goes, my son, you could just tell his head was about to explode. He realizes the king's a real
So I'll
real
tell
driver.
I'll tell a funny story. So, my little stepdaughter Lexi, I was I was at an event at Watkins Glen, and I was doing an event with Dad Moffat, and Richard Petty was there, and Richard Petty was I don't know, like, I couldn't even speak. Like, I saw Richard Petty, I was just like, "Oh my god, you're Richard Petty." And he's, like, the most humble guy, like, I'm like he's like and someone's like, "Hey, do you got advice for him, Watkins Glen?" He's like, "Yeah, just try not to fall off the course. I was never good at it." Like, I'm like, "You are the greatest ever," and you're, like, just, self-deprecating here, like, I don't know how it's even possible, but, I was driving home and I called Lexi, I'm like, "Lexi," I didn't even try, I'm like, "Lexi, guess who I met today?" She's like, "Who?" She's like, "I met the voice of Mr. the King." She's like, really? Like, I knew that's how she'd know him.
Yeah, and that's fine. He lives on for an entire different generation, and
Yes, yeah, but and it's yeah. I mean, obviously, people know Richard Petty, right? And they knew he was part of that movie, so, but it's still in the same way I talk about, the lesser known guys that were, snuck in there as part of the movie, but he's an important part of the story. And now they're making him part of that story. So yeah, no, I love it right up to the last movie. Like there was, and I also I'm the guy that'll sit on Wikipedia and try to
figure
decipher all
out.
these things.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I love American Horror Story and like all those, all the things that go on in American Horror Story are somewhat based on real stories and murders or whatever. And I'm always like, while I'm watching, I'm always Googling like, all right, what's this one mean? What's this one mean? But there's so many little things like that that the directors leave for you to kind of decipher in the movie for the passionate people that are, on the side of it. They're involved in the motorsports or automobile side of it. So, I always love it when the directors, reward you for noticing things like that.
yeah. The Easter eggs, they're for the fans.
Yeah. Like
I
the
love it.
unfriendly possum. I caught
Yeah.
that. No one else caught that. I caught it. I felt smart for a minute.